Our reading this week resonates with me. I remember as a kid, I had moved from a small school in a village to a city when I was promoted to the second grade. And my dad had gone to the school and told to register and actually register me for second grade. And the next day, because he was going to work, he told me to go my I passed. So it was only that and I. So he told me to go to the school. I needed to take a placement test in order to start school. Paralyzed by fear, when the registrar asked me, I told him I wasn't in the second grade, but that I was in the first grade. Because in my reasoning as a child, I thought I had just completed first grade, so I felt confident to be tested on the material of first grade. But I hadn't taken second grade yet, so I had that fear, and so I was paralyzed by that fear, and because of that, I ended up in first grade, even though my dad found out later, but it was late. And also, a little bit later in life, I had moved from that city to the capital, which was a much bigger city. And of course, my circle of friends and association have changed. But I soon realized I had some deficiency in, and was just not up to par. So because of that, because of those deficiency, I felt inferior, and I was overwhelmed by a sense of fear, and that's exactly what we are talking about this week in our reading. But as it relates to our American culture, some of the factors that have affected our congregation, our people today, is the entertainment world that is seen on TV, on advertisement, and people have come to base or lose their sense of reasoning, so to speak. And everything that is done is based on emotion and this thing of a pseudo reality. They don't base their judgment on fact, and this has spilled over into the church and somehow has hindered the ministry in the church today. Instead of living the good life, people have become complacent, and people sit on the couch and watch TV all day and relax for others to do their work for them, and whatever is handed down to them is the fast food mentality. Whatever is handed down to them is what they eat, whether it's healthy or it's appropriate, they really don't care. So because of the entertainment and emotional or sensational thing, the visual, rather than using our sense of reasoning, we prefer to be entertained. And I remember, and I quickly realized I needed to be up to par, needed to make some adjustment. And I remember also my dad had told me that I was as good as anybody else and could do or be whatever I wanted to be. So I resolved, I knew I had some deficiency. So I resolved to read more, to study more, so as to be able to cope with my new environment or the new challenges that I was faced with. One of the things I did in coping was to change my circle of friends. I, I started hanging with those who knew a little more than me, and that helped me to kind of steady hard to challenge myself to rise up to their level rather than hanging out with people who were at my level. And we can adapt those same attitude in the church today. As for my dad, one of the things he did in helping me was like he was there helping me with homework. When he couldn't, he found tutor for me. He give me the help that I needed. Coupled with that, he sent me to private school, but coming from a third world country, the system was deficient. The system as a whole was deficient, but he did what he could to help me and overcome this problem. But I too had to play a part because when I moved to the city and there was no daddy, I had to become my own person. I had to become my own person and face the challenge and make the necessary adjustments. And in our church today too, we can do the same thing. Firstly, we can create an environment wherein we can our people will be challenged. Our people will be challenged to read and to start to use their sense of reasoning to build up their mental capacity and as service to God and service to the church as well. Some of the programs that we can incorporate into our churches today, like we can start debates, for example. We can put Sunday school classes against each other, even our D groups or life groups. We can give them either theological topics or biblical topics, and they can study. And nobody wants to be embarrassed. Not that we intend to embarrass them, but if we kind of put them against each other, they want to do a little bit of research because they don't want to be embarrassed. They're going to do a little bit of study, and that will bring a sense of competition, and competition too is a motivator. So those are some of the things that we can do in the church today. Depending on the situation as well, we could start other classes like grammar classes, grammar and syntax classes where we can help people depending on the situation and to bring them up to par. I remember back in Africa, we did one of the things that we incorporated into our churches were doing adult literacy because of the level of our people, and we took people who had not been in school before, who had not gone to school before, and there was a program, I don't recall the name now, but we carried them through the program, and upon completion of that program, they were able to read at sixth grade level, which is pretty good. So depending on our congregation today, there are a number of things that we can do. Another thing we could do is we could have a class that teach them, that is apologetics focus. And in such a class, they can learn what they believe and why. Knowing what you believe and why can help to go along with this. So these are some of the ways, some of the suggestions that we can make. That these are some of the things that the local church can consider today in its ministries and ministering to its people. Also, what I want to add is the material. What we teach to our people is equally important, because many times when Jehovah Witnesses and Mormons show up at their doors, people panic. They are petrified. They don't know what to say. They don't know where to start. So the usual approach is to close their doors, and in turn, those are opportunities that are mixed. Why? Because they are overcome by fear. They are overcome by fear. They do not know what to do. They do not know how to do it. They don't know what they believe or how to defend or present what they believe. And the idea of longitude is important, because the pastors and the ministers and lay leaders within the church can also equip themselves. And one of the suggestions that Moreland makes in his book is developing the habit of a continuous study as a spiritual discipline, where you are engaged in studies, not just study and reading, okay? Finding a place and a time, okay? Finding an accountability partner that you can read some materials. It doesn't necessarily have to be, religious material, but something that is challenging, so that you can be challenged mentally, and you can build up your mind, which all leads to the good life. And so this would be some of the ways that we can overcome this problem. Thank you.